Hey, all you guys who live on this earth, who live on
Stop
Mother
it.
Earth, who has you
Let's
hate.
just start.
He ruins my
You
intro
don't need
so
an
hard.
intro. No,
Who are
that's
you?
that's lame.
All right, so we're gonna be giving our in a week. We're on week what for
Week
North
4,
America?
day 2.
Week 4, day 2. But we're gonna talk about the day 1 really quickly. Just kind of cover that quickly. How do you think about TSM versus Optic? TSM looking to bounce back after their 0-2 week last week. Optic also had a 0-2 week and wanting to prove that their new roster can contend with the big boys in the league. What did you think about this game?
Arrow was ridiculously bad. I think that Austin might be the better case at this point. I'm not really I was really hyped that he might come back to form with a new team, but it's just not the case. He's just
Underrated opinion. I think Big played well
what?
today. I think Big's been getting a little bit better.
I'm not going to deny it. I think
Arrow,
that the supports on Optic, I mean not support. Yeah, I mean Gate was one of the better. I mean, was a fine performer even when he was playing, but I think Big's obviously substantially better. But I still don't think Big's good. I still think he's towards the bottom half.
Like today, you kind of saw some glimpses of like, okay, he's getting better.
He's not getting better. He's just having having some good performances, which I think he's capable of. But he's still not a good support. The mid lane again. I think that Crown is pretty much the only substantially good player on this team when it's not. Well, I mean, obviously, I think the jungler, but it's pretty much only him on the team when, like, this team is on the main roster. I'd like to see them go back to their side roster.
Meteos is playing really well.
It's Meteos and Crown. It's pretty much all it is. I'd like to see them put Asta back in. With the way Dokla is playing, I'd like to see him replaced again.
You're the biggest Dokla.
I liked Dokla the first week he came in. Do you not remember? I was like, oh my god, Dokla played insane.
I said don't trust those first.
Well, you always have to say something about it though. Like if he's performing well, you say, wow. You don't just say I'm not playing him because he had so much bad performances. Like if he has a good performance, you have to get hyped on it.
But also today, TSM and Optic have a very, very neck and neck game. Optic get a Baron. Optic actually overextend. TSM capitalize on that and then close the game. TSM moved to 3-4. Optic moved to 2-5. Yeah, Optic have lost their last 4 games in a row, right? They've lost 4
The biggest
straight,
problem
right?
with me on Optic, like this game in general, is it's the lack of actual macro. Is just constantly ram your face down mid and hopefully something happens from it. It was not incredibly entertaining.
But it's not looking that much better for TSM either. It's like if Broken Blade doesn't get them anywhere.
I just said the game in general. I didn't say a team.
Well, I mean, if you look at TSM, if Broken Blade doesn't really dictate them and how to play the game, they just don't.
Yeah, again, I think that the game there was no it was just ram your face down mid. This is not a good showing for either one of these teams. I'm not too impressed. Like I do think obviously TSM played slightly better in the side lanes, but that doesn't mean much. In the side lanes for sure, I think Sven played a lot better than Arrow, and Broken Blade won the lane, so it's not really too surprising. But I think that's a big indicator is the fact that I still don't think Bjergsen's playing up to standard, and there's no sort of macro going on with this team. I'm not impressed. Like they're not doing anything.
Their macro is like if Broken Blade isn't like 1v1ing smashing top, then they just like sit there and do absolutely
nothing. So like they don't focus on side lanes. It's constantly shoved down mid in that entire game. So if we want to see some improvements, it's gonna have to come from something else. I'm sorry.
And the next game, Team Liquid willing to continue their win streak, and they face up against Golden Guardians, who had a bounce back week last week. Today, it looks like Golden Guardians tried to exploit Team Liquid's weak early game, but it really can't, and they ended up losing because of some crucial team fights. Froggen pulled out his patented pocket pick Anivia, and he still lost.
Well, I'm gonna be honest. I really did like this game from Golden Guardians. It shows that they're still capable. I think this is pretty much an indicator of how decently they've turned back around, because that was one of the cleaner. Again, another game that I would say is really well. They played really well into Team Liquid. I did like that. I think they have a lot of potential coming into this. I mean, at this point, because their decisiveness is coming a lot. Like again, the early game aggressive choices around the map. I just think they're outclassed individually by Team Liquid too much. Core JJ just is too good of an engager at this point. No one was able to keep up.
And when it came down, like just outside of laning phase, if Team Liquid just gets you to a point where they can just out macro you and out beat you just by their players being better, then we've seen him just completely
Yeah.
steamroll the other.
I mean, like, Golden Guardians did a pretty decent job early on. They lost it towards the end, obviously. But I think that's just an indicator of just the level of talent difference. It was, again, they could have made a few different like choices around the map, but most of it came down to the fact that they were just individually outclassed.
Do you know that Team Liquid hasn't had a Baron taken against them this split yet?
I guess. I didn't keep track of that, to be honest.
And they haven't even been taken in the inhibitor turret yet. But moving on to the next game, the boys in blue, Cloud9 looking to take on Echo Fox, Rush on Echo Fox looking to play against his former team. And today it showed a lot of strengths and weaknesses to the team Echo Fox, even though they did lose the game. Phoenix in particular played, I'd say, pretty well. And it just looked like they're not all on the same page. Cloud9 wanting to prove that they are the second best team in the league. A lot of the Cloud9 members today just outperformed substantially. You had Zazel playing like an absolute monster on his Alistar pick. You had Licorice completely dumpstering solo in the top lane. Svenskeren is just kind of just being there. Sneaky today played great. And even Niski today actually not dying on the Syndra counter pick because of Lissandra being stronger than Syndra in lane.
I don't know if that's true. I mean, honestly.
I mean,
Lissandra does not do anything to Syndra.
With that pick, he did keep Niski at bay.
I mean,
for
yes,
a while.
you can stop him, but you're not a counter pick. I'm sorry. That's not a counter pick in lane. I'm sorry. There's no way. I'm not gonna give Niski credit for something that's not true. Syndra is not susceptible. Like, obviously she can get engaged on. It does help ganks come through, but that's not a counter. Like, you can easily match your poke with yours.
Interesting. I mean, herself, like she had self-alter herself, and then Syndra's burst could do nothing.
Syndra, I mean, Lissandra only has her ult as like most of her primary damage.
I guess that's true. But this game showed why Cloud9 are the second best team. What did you like? What did you think about this game in particular?
I'm gonna say that Sneaky is probably the best ADC in the league right now. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I don't really think it's
Piglet fourth.
Yeah, it's pretty incredible. I'm completely wrong. Like, Sneaky's playing quite a bit better than he did last year. Like, I don't think he's playing a level above what I actually said last year. Like, I think if we're going based off last year, I still would put like his last year's performance was not in the top 4, but
I feel like you would probably take Piglet's performance and put him above Sneaky's by last year.
Piglet didn't play last year.
I mean, in the Academy League,
I mean, in terms of just actual lane performance, yes, but again, I think that Sneaky's out of lane performance is absolutely incredible. But I think he's been playing really well in lane recently. I think that's like she showed up a lot of mistakes that I saw him make last year. Another thing is that he's probably been one of the most dominant out of lane ADCs in exist. Like, he's just incredible. If you can't get that, if you can't like snuff him out during the laning phase, it's over, because he's playing like these ADCs that are in meta are just suiting his style really well. His Ezreal's really insanely clean. His Sivir obviously today was just really well done. I do think kind of
aside from
I was about to say he kind of baited his team in at one time, but
I mean,
that was funny.
If Svenskeren saved his flash and then hit Hakuo with the body slam flash, he would have got the pentakill.
Sneaky's one of the best ADCs in the league, and I really do like the spot lane mashup. They're one of the better ones.
And also today, I think Zazel will probably go underrated. He played absolutely incredible.
Like, again, the spot lane in general just really well. I think Niski's one of the best mid lanes in the league right now.
Licorice completely dumpstered solo, as you talked about yesterday.
It's not surprising. I mean, but the thing about, the still clear defined weakness of this team is going to be Svenskeren. He's been...
I was going to say Rush for Echo Fox.
Well, I mean, Rush is not on Cloud9, so I don't think that matters.
That's true. I mean, once upon a time, right? No, you don't like that one?
So like all around, I think Svenskeren is going to be the clear weakness of this team, and that's going to be the singular reason as to why I don't think they're ever going to beat Team Liquid. But
that's the sad thing.
It is like
all of them could literally just outperform, but
I don't think any of them. Really, the only one that can outperform anybody on Team Liquid is Licorice. But actually, Sneaky might be able to outperform Double of 2 at the way he's playing.
No, not like outperform. Like if the Cloud9 members on a certain day just play really well, since Scaren's just really heavy to carry.
Again, I think that this team, if they had a substantially better jungler, even though I think they're individually outclassed, I think their macro is substantially decent to where I think they would punish Team Liquid like like, what's it called? They would consistently punish the early game weaknesses of Team Liquid. I think that would work out well, but it's not happening.
And Cloud9 moved to 5-2. Echo Fox moved to 3-4. They are tied for like 5th, 6th, and you have FlyQuest taking on 100 Thieves. I even got this one right. FlyQuest beat 100 Thieves. It was a really interesting game.
It wasn't.
Viper got his patented Riven pick, and it actually really didn't do much.
What do you mean? He was super good this game.
I don't know about that. He didn't really show much. He showed a lot in the team fights.
That is the hardest way to play Viper. I mean, first of all, you don't again. Riven's hardest way to play Riven is in team fights. Obviously, she can get those flash over the wall. W stuns and all. But again, Riven is not a substantially good team fighter. It's just not the case.
Someday got the Silas, and he got his patented Aurelian Soul. But 100 Thieves looked very lost when it came to the mid game and how to actually play their leads out, because they actually did get ahead in the game at various points.
Again,
this team fought better.
It's not. They weren't really ever really ahead. I mean, a lot of it came down to just CS differentials, but those are pretty much negligible if your team's falling apart in terms of just pressure. Like
Onda played good today.
Onda didn't do anything. What do you mean?
He played good. What did he do? It was the best day he's had in a long time.
It doesn't matter. He had a singular kill participation, dude.
It's terrible.
I'm gonna be honest. Someday he was again the best player on this team. I think that him and Bang usually are, but I did not like the combination of Bang and Tom. Afremu is the worst player on this team. Afremu and Huhi.
I was gonna say Huhi. I was gonna say, why would they pick Aurelian Soul? The Aurelian Soul absolutely did nothing.
Well, I mean, again, that's Huhi's pocket pick, but I think Afremu and Huhi are the two worst players on this team as it stands right now.
Yep.
I think that Onda, although he's not doing anything, at least he's not being a consistent negative effect on this team.
He is, technically, by that standard.
Not by that standard. I think if it was with again, Afremu was consistently going out of his way to make the game go worse for them, and so was Huhi.
He's more. Yeah, I guess you can say he's just an NA version of Peanut at this point.
Who?
Afremu.
That is a really bad. They're two different roles.
No, I mean, you see kind of similar, he'll do, weird flash
The thing about it is, Peanut has been bad for quite a bit of time. Afremu was good recently.
I guess that can kind of salvage it.
I think that Afremu has had good games this year, but if you count throughout the entire year, he's been one of the worst players. I think that Huhi is the singular worst, but Afremu is definitely up there. Bang, again, there was a lot of synergy. He should not have spit himself out so early on during the fights. That was kind of the reason. He should have taken when your Tom Kench has cleanse flash. You should take the entirety of the time inside of the mouth, so he can get you out of the situation. But Bang automatically shot himself out, got himself in bad situations. So I think a lot of it comes down to Bang playing poorly too today. So I think that Someday is still the bright spot of this team, even though I don't think Silas is great until late. So.
And yeah, FlyQuest moved to 4-3. 100 Thieves moved to 3-4. And last game of the day, also I got this one right. I moved to 3 to year 1 prediction. CLG beat Clutch Gaming. Clutch is on a 5-game losing streak after starting out 2-0, and CLG starting out 0-2. Clutch kind of showed bits of hope today, but Huni is just so hard to carry. It's not even funny. Piglet also was losing to Stixay. What in the world was going on? Are you tilted?
A little bit. That game was just frustrating in general. I don't think the bot lane matchup went that poorly. But the biggest problem with this team is obviously going to be... Huni was just ridiculously bad. That's over the top. I think that... there's no reason as to why Huni should consistently get beat in what I would say is a really large amount of bad early game player champions in Cassidy and all these players. He played Huni, and he played Rumble, and his ults were absolutely tremendously bad. It's just,
if you go to 6 minutes in the game where Clutch take the dragon, Huni TP's in, throws the Rumble equalizer straight when he could throw it slanted, kill 2 people, and then take the dragon. Guess what he does? He throws it the other way and absolutely just dies.
I mean, Huni's been the worst top laner in the league this entire year so far. He's had one extremely good game, but that's pretty much been it. I think at this point it's time to say I need to take the back seat and start playing tanks because he's not good enough on these carries right now. It's just not.
Today, also, CLG played a comp in which, like, they drafted losing lanes, but played losing lanes the same way you would play an early game comp, because Clutch also kind of shot themselves in the foot.
I mean,
they picked Corki into Kassadin. What?
Corki is okay into Kassadin. Corki is good into Kassadin.
But the shield, the burst, you can just survive most of that with his shield.
Again, I do understand the magic damage, but the consistent auto attack damage, because you can auto attack. Corki does win this matchup actually.
But that only really matters at like levels like between like 1 and 6.
It does,
though.
And that's when you should be able to get the substantial CS lead. Once you get that CS lead, you should be able to win. Even when he kind of like, if you went equalized through 1 and 6, I mean, it would go pretty much close to in favor. It would still probably be slightly in Corki's favor, but the CS lead you kind of gain through these early levels should give you the push through to still be the stronger laner throughout then. But the biggest problem was, again, I don't think, like, Sivir Alistar is not able to punish somebody when there's a Tahm Kench. I think that was a good pickup on their part. I think that Biofrost played it extremely well, too. I'm really hyped about that. I think that Darshan is really good on these tanks right now. When you put him on a tank, he's looking really good.
They need to just ban Sion.
It's not even just Sion.
They banned it last time. They banned Sion against everybody else. What's any different against banning Sion in this game?
Again, I think that, I don't know. I'm assuming they have some reason as to why they want to ban. What did they ban this game?
They banned. Let me go watch it right now. Did you
remember? Man, I can't remember who they banned.
They banned first rotation. They banned Ezreal.
Of course. Okay, Ezreal again.
Ezreal, Urgot, Sylas. CLG banned Jace, Lucian, and Cassiopeia.
I don't understand the Sylas ban. I don't think any of them would be competent enough. Maybe Power of Evil.
I don't think Darshan was ever playing Sylas.
No, he's not playing Sylas. But I think that
they banned Ivern on Clutch's side.
Well, I mean, I think the best choice in bans was the Ezreal. I think that's the defining point on the CLG team.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, Biofrost played extremely well. Stixxay played really well. I think that Power of Evil insanely just outperformed everybody. Like, it was just ridiculous.
I like that I got to see that Power of Evil that I've wanted to see for a while. He hasn't been that Power of Evil for a while, and I think this game kind of showed that he still can be that type of mid laner that needs to be a threat.
So on Clutch game, the two best players are still pretty much obviously Damonte and Piglet. But the problem with this is the rest of the, like, Vulcan's fine I would say he's fine when he's on Tahm Kench. I've not really liked him on anything else recently. But
Lyra tried.
He always tries. That's not the problem with him. It's the fact that he tries too hard. But Huni is just.
Today he didn't really do that. Today he tried to be like conservative.
I agree with it. I think that he's played pretty fine today, but again, Huni just went out of his mind terrible. If this team wants to turn around, Huni needs to go on a tank because he's just dragging this team down.
Someone even said on Clutch's Reddit, why not just switch out Huni with their Academy top laner and then switch out Piglet and Vulcan with the Academy.
The bot lane is playing fine. Whoever said that is the idiot. Who's an idiot? I'm sorry.
Obviously, the silver Reddit analysts are the best.
Just like, the bot lane is not the problem with this team. The second best player on this team is the bot lane.
So Clutch moved to 5-0. Clutch have lost their last 5. CLG moved to 4-3 in sole possession of third, tied with FlyQuest. And today is week 5, day 1, right?
No. What?
This is week 4, day 2, right? Week 4, day 2 predictions. First match of the day: Echo Fox versus 100 Trash.
Stop doing that, man. I think that, again, I'm gonna say 100 Thieves. I still do believe in them as a team. But the problem is that I think that Phoenix is playing substantially better than Huhi right now. It's gonna be a big problem with this team because I think that exploiting the weakness in mid lane is gonna be a big factor in whether or not Echo Fox wins this, and I think they're capable of it. Someday is gonna smash top lane. I don't think there's any way that Solo even keeps up in this lane.
I think Solo has his worst week in facing the best top laners in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Solo, like, if Licorice can beat him, and Licorice is ranked 2nd in top laners, then what's the first best top laner?
Yeah, I honestly think that Sunday's came back to form, and he looks extremely good now. I'm really hyped about that.
I think Echo Fox is probably going to win this game, but they're not going to win it through like laning. They're going to have to win it through some sort of like clutch team fight they had last
I
time.
don't think
they're only going to win because 100 Thieves is going to.
I don't think they're 100 Thieves. They're no team fighting wise. 100 Thieves is set, man. Their team fighting's completely fine. The big problem with 100
today showed different.
I mean, again, like a lot of it came down to a bunch of mistakes on like I would say is Bang's problem, Bang and Huhi's problem. No, it was Bang and Aframu mostly, but not Bang and Aframu and Huhi mostly, but I do think Bang played a lot worse than he usually does with the synergy with the Tom Kench, spitting himself out too early. So I don't think that's going to be a problem later on. I don't see that situation popping up a lot. I think that's something that you're gonna rarely see out of Bang, but yeah, I don't see this bot like again. The biggest exploitation you're gonna see is gonna be out of mid lane, and without the jungler's presence that I don't think Rush is capable of producing at this point, I don't think that Echo Fox can exploit it. I think that although I think Huhi is pretty bad, and I do think he's gonna lose this lane, I don't think it's gonna be substantial enough for them to lose early on enough. And if they don't lose early on enough, I think they're confident enough in the later on stages to beat this team.
Well, I liked what Echo Fox were trying to do today. They got deep vision. They tried to blow Zazel's flash. And it's really sad that they got early game summoners and then die 2v2 to the summonerless Alistar. Oh, what? But I think 100 Thieves should be favored, but for right now, I'm going to predict that Echo Fox
I'm going to say 100 Thieves.
And next game, CLG versus Golden Guardians.
I'm actually gonna, I honestly think Golden Guardians has turned around substantially this year. Like, I do like that CLG's kind of find a defined style, but I don't think their style works out extremely well unless they have the Ezreal pick in the bot lane, and I think that Golden Guardians really just can play anything in the ADC. Like, their only really defined traits are they need the tanks in the side lanes, the aggressive jungler, and then mid lane can play pretty much anything, and so can the ADC. So I'm really hyped about that. I think that Golden Guardians is quite a bit more flexible in terms of where I think that CLG is kind of stuck on 2 top lane tanks and a specific ADC in like Ezreal. I don't think Golden Guardians has those limitations.
I think for this time around, I'm gonna actually say CLG because Golden Guardians, they did perform decently well today, but it looked like they just lacked the knowledge of just trying to accelerate the early game when they actually had a decent enough lead early on. And I don't think that they're going to be able to punish CLG for that same reason.
Again, they did substantially punish Team Liquid. I think they looked really strong against them. And again, the last week, even before that, an entire week of 2 games, I think they looked really good too. So I think this is, again, they've defined what their team is going to be like. I think this is going to be a turning point for this team, and they're going to win today. So I'm going to say Golden Guardians win this because I really do like the direction they've taken.
I'm going to say CLG. I think CLG's clear, defined style they want to play is going to be a little bit more of a determining factor as to what Golden Guardians is kind of just starting to pick it up. But CLG's already kind of at that point. So next game, TL versus TSM. Now, last year, this would have been the match of the day. And there's no match of the day today. I'm sorry if you have to pay for games today, people who go watch these games, because these are terrible. This is unbelievably one of the worst days. TL versus TSM. Can TSM's early game be enough to beat Team Liquid's kind of slower paced early game?
I do agree that TSM's early game aggression is kind of their defined style. But it counteracts their players in general. Like, Sven is not good early. Sven is not a good early game player, but where so is the mid and top lane, I think, are aggressive type early games. And I think Acadian's kind of, like, facilitating this. That's the biggest problem with this team is a clash of play styles. But, again, I think they also don't have any clear, like, a macro system going on because most of their game, their game against, who did they play yesterday? Optic.
Yes.
Again, most of their game against Optic is like involving rushing down mid, trying to get the team fight win, and it just barely worked out for them. They almost lost that game. So I don't really see Team Liquid, who I think has the single best player in support in pretty much every aspect, who has one of the best ADCs, the best mid laner, and then the jungle on top. The jungle is the best at his role, and the top lane is playing out of his mind, better than he's played since he's came to NA. So I don't see a situation where Team Liquid loses to what I'd say is pretty much mid and top centralized team, and mid lane's only been playing good on certain days. So
unless Broken Blade can break Impact, it's not happening. Sorry, Houston.
But I'm gonna say Team Liquid wins this pretty hard.
I'm gonna say Team Liquid. Almost pulled a 180 on you, right? So you have FlyQuest versus Clutch Gaming. So is it very possible that Clutch is gonna go 0-6?
God, I don't want it to happen, but it's just like.
If they go 0-6, I guarantee they're switching somebody out next week.
I would like to see Huni switched out at this point. I think he's been the biggest detriment to this team's health. Like, I think with a pretty competent top laner yesterday, I think they would have done fine, but it was not possible.
Like, people wanted to see him back on the carry top laners, and they got their wish, and then it failed. I think right now, FlyQuest, even though their players are theoretically weaker, they play together better as a team, which can get you a lot further at very certain points in certain splits than teams who have star players. And I think that people like to actually underrate having synergy with players that aren't as good, because it seems that players that aren't as good, as long as they can cohesively work with a system that can go with the other less weaker players that have a strong suit to take off, then it looks like they can perform better, and that's kind of FlyQuest's strength
I think
right
it's
now.
not synergy, more so as their macro is just absolutely better than a lot of the teams in NA. I think that obviously you see a lot of the mechanical weaknesses coming out of some of the lanes, but Viper is really good on specific picks, and Pobel's been playing like one of the best mid laners in the league. Santorin is one of, if not the best jungler in the league, so they have a lot of good players on this team, but the bot lane, again, is just one of the worst in the league, so it's one... I think if they had a pretty competent bot lane, they would be one of the best teams. Like, they'd be a competition for Cloud9 for the second best team.
Probably. Yeah, I would either throw CLG or FlyQuest up there for contention to be Cloud9, but it looks like Clutch you're saying Clutch is gonna go 0-6.
I like the way Clutch is playing. I don't see them winning. Like, Viper played really well yesterday, and today. Was it yesterday or it's still today? So Viper played really well today, and Huni played the exact, like, the single worst top laner of the league yesterday.
Like the exact opposite.
I think Lyra played fine yesterday, but again, Santorin's playing way better than him the entire year. I don't see Clutch Gaming winning this because, like, there's just...
I don't see Clutch...
Like,
I'm not saying it's a guarantee, but I think if they lose tomorrow, they are gonna make
But again, I do think this is a good matchup for them in certain aspects, because I think that Piglet Vulcan are gonna take advantage of this bot lane, and it's gonna be... No, you know what? Because of this specific situation, no, I can't. There's just too... I can't do it, man.
Don't do it.
I can't. I want to, but again,
Don't do it.
there's just too many good. Like, there's too little coming out of like the top side of the map for me to give Clutch Gaming the edge. So I'm gonna say FlyQuest wins this, and I'm really sad to say that.
I thought you were gonna say Clutch.
I was going to, but
You've lost faith.
It's just hard, man.
God, I predicted every team on FlyQuest's side. So yeah, I'm gonna say FlyQuest. But now it's time to switch to the other side. Last game of the day, Optic
Cloud9.
and versus Cloud9. Meteos facing off against this very first team, Cloud9. Yeah, a few couple marquee matchups here. You have Jensen versus Crown. You have Sneaky facing off against Meteos and against Crown again. Obviously, they faced a number of times from Samsung to Cloud9. You have clear defined styles of both of these teams, that Arrow does nothing, Sneaky does stuff. Zazel is better at what Big is trying to do. Licorice is much better than Dolkla. And the junglers don't even... Meteos is better than Svenskeren, but it's not negligible enough to kind of get them a lead anywhere.
I think that, again, the most key matchup of this game is going to be the mid lane. Because Crown versus Zazel is the only way I could see Optic winning this, because Dolkla is just... He's going to lose this top lane. Bot lane is going up into what I would say is the second best bot lane in NA. And there's just no way that Arrow Big get the advantage here, so...
Like, I saw Crown's face today, and he was like, man, this sucks.
He deserves a better team at this point. I'd like to see him on a better team.
And it's weird though. People were pegging him to be coming in as one of the more like the worst mid laner.
I
in the
would
league.
like to see him on maybe 100 Thieves, to be honest. Maybe switch out some players. I'd like that.
Ooh.
Like 100 Thieves could use a better mid laner, and
God,
Optic could use a tanking system because they're not good enough to compete right now.
Optic could use a slot out of this LCS. Oh, burn! No, I'm just kidding. Cloud9, I think there's without a doubt they're probably going to play the exact same way they're going to play against Echo Fox, except it's going to be a lot. Echo Fox at least tried to put up a fight yesterday, but I think today Cloud9 will undoubtedly show a reason why that the second best team and probably move to 6. They would move to 6-2 if they win this. Optic would have lost their last 5 games if they lose to Cloud9. That is ridiculous. Clutch and Optic are tied for the worst teams.
Don't talk to me.
You put Clutch at 3rd. I told you not to do that.
I'm still believing in them. I think they're going to turn it around.
I have Clutch at 7. Woo! Dodged the bullet on that one. I almost put them in playoffs. There's not much else. Any kind of reason? Any kind of last parting words? As to reason why Clutch could possibly beat FlyQuest.
I mean, I do think that the bot lane is substantially in the favor of Clutch Gaming, and mid lane is probably going to be very evenly matched up. So I could see it going in Clutch's favor, but just all around, FlyQuest is more decisive. They're smarter on the map, so I could see Clutch winning this, but FlyQuest, as it stands, are just the better teams, so I don't see it happening.
I could see TSM having a slight chance against Liquid, even though I'm not going to predict them, but I think TSM is... Today's Sven on a mage looked better than he did look on an ADC.
Okay, now I want to point out a few things. First of all, the biggest reasons why he's saying this is because C9 Jack said that TSM is going to smash Liquid today. Biggest reason he said that, but another thing is TSM looked absolutely abysmal today. Like, maybe Sven looked a little bit better, but all around the map, this is one of TSM's worst days. I can't believe you just, like, no.
It wasn't because of Jack. There's no way I would ever do that.
You would definitely do that. So all around, I mean, there's no way TSM wins this unless Liquid just massively underperforms.
If they can just somehow punish Liquid's early
How do they do it? Tell me.
That's Broken Blade and Acadian's aggression.
Okay, that's good. Is that good enough to turn around an entire game where they're losing around the map? Because TSM...
Absolutely not, because they couldn't do that against Clutch.
Again, I think that Bjergsen has had the I mean, like, if we go by legacy, Bjergsen has pretty much stomped Jensen in most of their matchups, so I do think that it's possible, but we have to go on recency.
Oh, yeah, this is their first time facing each other this year.
Yeah, we have to go by recency, recent performance. Like, a lot of these things, I could see Bjergsen playing better, but it's not going to happen with the way they've been playing recently, so I'm going to say there's no way Team Liquid loses this.
I think they'll have some early game struggles against TSM, but after that, out of laning phase, I think it's just a clear cut. Team Liquid's just going to stomp them.
All right, so that's pretty much it, guys. If you have any questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section, and see you later.
See you later. Inside for Nerds. Deuces!
You're weird,
right?
man.